Yeah.
Yeah, what's up? Hey, what's up? What's up, Greg? What's up, Matt Gomez? Sam Salinas? Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for joining. Greg Castanella. Name I hadn't heard before. Thanks for joining. And we got our OGs, Matt Gomez and Sam Salinas. Thanks, boys.
How much time we got left?
Yeah, you got about less than a minute, 30 seconds. Less than 30 seconds. What's up, Elias? Hey, man, that was funny, though, man. I watched WWE Raw for the plot. I sent you a picture of the plot. Hey, man, that's Stephanie back there, whatever. Dude, I think I'm a fan, Elias. Mike went ahead and pulled the Shaq move, man. Shaq, he had to leave early, dude, during the TNT broadcast. Shaq had to get up and go. He had to go to the bathroom, dude. Right when they were going ahead and he was getting the check there. No, it was Charles Barkley doing his spin.
Welcome to another episode of the Area 210 podcast with Mike Jimenez and Joe Garcia. Make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Join the discussion as we broadcast to you live from beautiful West San Antonio. And remember to tip your hosts as it helps the show grow.
What's up, San Antonio? What's going on, South Texas? This is the Area 210 podcast. My name is Mike Jimenez. That's Joe Garcia. We go for about an hour and a half talking sports, pop culture, nonsense, lots of fun things over here. And Joe, I was thinking about it yesterday, Joe.
Yeah.
We have a pretty cool crew here, man. This is a fun mix. We have, anywhere between, on all the different platforms, anywhere between 300 and 700 views per day, right? But we have a lot of regulars in here. We see that Elias is in there, Matt Gomez, Sam Salinas, Chris Gonzalez. We have Greg in the mix. This is a fun show, man, because we have become quite the community. Everyone is a member here, except for me, right? I'm the outside. I'm not part of USOA. What do I have to do to become a member, Joe?
No, man, you can't cook, bro.
Kind of cooked yesterday. You set me up on that one, man. When it came to Greg Popovich, you know how to light the fire under me when it comes to Coach Pop. But we need to get into another discussion about a former Spurs great. Another one being Kawhi Leonard, who last night turned back the clock 39 points as the Clippers got a Game 2 victory last night. And suddenly everyone's looking at Kawhi Leonard like, wait a minute, we forgot. This guy is probably the best two-way player in all of basketball. But I did the math, Joe. He missed 399 games in his career so far in the regular season due to injuries, due to load management, not even including the playoffs, which gets him well beyond 400. But last night was an interesting game for Kawhi Leonard. As we mentioned, 39 points. He made it on 15 of 19 shooting. The guy was just absolutely on fire. Doesn't matter if it was a buzzer beater or what. Courtesy of TNT last night, Kawhi Leonard working it on the inside, getting that mid-range game going. This three-pointer right here was amazing. Just boom, spot up, dagger. It was a close game throughout, but man, look at the handles that Kawhi had. Driving in, using the body, getting the contact, brushing it off, and one. Number 2 was lit last night. Look at these handles right here. Boom, 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 boom. Crossover. Kawhi Leonard, now in his 30s, looked like a 24-year-old man out there just getting bucket after bucket after bucket, and the Nuggets could not stop him.
Mike, that's what happens when you're a part-time player. This brother's missed most of the season, only comes out and plays for the playoffs. Of course he's going to be fresh, but hold my beer. This is a 7-game series or whatever, 6 games, 5 games, whatever they have it now. He's going to get injured again, dude. He's going to miss the second. If they get past the Nuggets and they go to the second round, he's going to miss time, bro. This is man.
And that's the funny thing about it is that people were saying on Twitter last night that this is the biggest what if since Grant Hill or other players who have gone down with injury or because of a passing, like Len Bias or whomever. There's a lot of players out there who didn't live up to their full potential. And you can say that Kawhi Leonard didn't live up to his potential, but at the same time, he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, Joe. First ballot. It's not a question as to whether or not he's going to get in or not. For a while, that was kind of a thing because you look at it, you think, well, he's missed so much time. If you miss 399 regular season games, that's the equivalent of missing 5 full seasons of basketball. And in fact, he missed a whole season back in 2022, a full 82-game season he missed. But at the same time, the guy has 2 NBA Finals MVPs. He's got 2 rings for 2 different teams, San Antonio Spurs and the Toronto Raptors. Joe, if he goes out there and gets a 3rd chip somehow, some way with the Clippers or some other team, it's a weird legendary status that he'd go into. Now, I was checking out basketballreference.com and their list of players who they project to make the Hall of Fame. They have Kawhi Leonard ranked as one of the top 20 players to make the Hall of Fame currently in the NBA with a 91% chance, Joe. A 91% chance of making the Hall of Fame. And I think it's going to be first ballot. I don't even think it's going to be close. But we see how good of a player that he was. And it got me thinking, Joe. And this is where I'm pulling the curtain back, Joe. You know, yesterday we talked about the fact that the Spurs have been too loyal to Greg Popovich.
Yeah, okay.
Is it possible the Spurs were too loyal to Tony Parker and they chose Tony Parker over a blossoming Kawhi Leonard?
No chance, man. Kawhi wanted out. Him and Uncle Dennis, they wanted out of San Antonio. The Spurs, no matter what the Spurs would have done in this type of scenario, Kawhi wanted out. He wanted to go and play in LA, dude. San Antonio was too small time for him. He knew at the end of the day he wasn't going to get as much attention and he wasn't going to make as much money here in the small market of San Antonio. And people are like, well, small markets don't matter. They do matter. They still matter in today's NBA. And don't fool yourselves. Kawhi wanted out. He was going to get out of San Antonio. If they hadn't made a deal and he hit free agency, he wasn't coming back here. He was gone.
Okay, and that's the main thing I wanted to ask you. You jumped right at it, which was, would he have stayed
No.
if they handed the keys off to him? Because imagine being Kawhi Leonard. Okay, I'm not trying to be revisionist history. I know I got a lot of flack back in the day for saying that his jersey belongs on the rafters at the Frostbank Center, and I still believe that, Joe. That was not me being funny or looking for clicks or looking for listens back in San Antonio Sports Star days. I truly believe his jersey belongs up there because he was a Finals MVP, and 2014 does not happen without him. Okay, it's one of those things where, yeah, we got divorced from the situation, but we still got a kid, and that kid was a 2014 banner, right? Should have been back-to-back. He could have won it in 2013 as well. But that being said, I wonder if it was too close to the Tim, Tony, Manu era for Kawhi to actually be the star that he wanted to be. You can be a star in any city in the United States. I mean, look at the biggest stars in the NBA right now. One plays in Milwaukee, one plays in Denver, right? One plays in San Antonio. You can be a star. But I was looking at it and thinking about it last night. It was devastating to see him go down with that injury when he fell on Zaza Pachulia's foot, right? Zaza doing that dirty play. We could have won that chip as well. We were beating the living snot out of Golden State. That's the biggest what if that we have as Spurs fans is that particular moment, right? That changed the trajectory of the team. Could Kawhi have won a chip with LaMarcus Aldridge? Could he have won it with DeJounte Murray?
No.
And last night we go back in time and we think and we see him and like, oh my God, he is one of the 5 best players in the NBA still when he's actually out there and healthy. And you're saying he's going to go get hurt. He played 41 minutes last night, Joe. Kawhi played 41 minutes.
He's going to get injured again. This is fool's gold. We all know this. Kawhi, yeah, he's probably going to get into the Basketball Hall of Fame, but I know you could get in as a part-time NBA player. That's all he is. He's a part-time NBA player because he has a nagging injury. That's the Achilles heel in his whole shtick here in his game. That you can't count on him for the full gamut of an 82-game season because he's going to miss more than half of that because, I got this quad injury again or whatever they call it that he has. It's a nagging injury he's going to have forever. It's going to shorten his NBA career.
Kawhi Leonard's going to turn 34 years old in June.
Yeah, he's already getting old, bro.
34, right? But here's his career highlights, right? He's 2-time NBA champion, 2-time NBA Finals MVP, 6-time NBA All-Star. He was an All-Star Game MVP, 3-time All-NBA first team, 3-time All-NBA second team. He won the Defensive Player of the Year award twice and was in the All-NBA Defensive First Team 3 years in a row. Also was the second team All-Defensive NBA team 4 years as well. He was also All-Rookie First Team. The dude's going to get in. He's going to get in. The biggest what if is not whether or not Kawhi Leonard is going to be a future Hall of Famer. It's whether or not he was going to go down as a top 10, top 15, top 20 player of all time, because the trajectory was just in that area. And think about how smart the Spurs were back in the day when they sniffed him out of San Diego State and said, this guy is going to be a star. We need to trade George Hill, who was a fan favorite, a Pop favorite, to go get Kawhi.
Pop cried when they had to trade Georgie away. That was his boy.
Yeah.
They had to give away his son.
And it's JHNSB coming out saying current Kawhi last night was better than current Wemby, just being honest.
Jeez.
Brutal. Our chat, by the way, powered by MCS General Contracting. What's that again, Joe?
Said, where's the lie?
Well, I mean, the thing about it is that you look at Kawhi last night, and you can't argue with the fact that he's one of the 5 best players in the NBA when healthy, right? Okay, last night's game, when you saw him go off for the way that he went off last night.
Yeah.
Name a better two-way player than him. Maybe Jokic, but Jokic defensively is not as good as Kawhi is. Maybe Jokic, maybe Giannis, but that's really about it. I mean, LeBron is older. There's a lot of good. Luka Doncic doesn't play defense very well.
No, he doesn't play defense at all. All Luka does is chuck the ball up and hopefully it goes in and he gets his points. Beyond that, he's not going after the 50-50 ball. He's not playing defense. He's not getting rebounds. He ain't doing nothing.
Right. It's crazy, man. Head over fist coming out saying a healthy Kawhi is an oxymoron. But, man, it's funny. You look back at Kawhi Leonard, and it's just the what ifs, man. It's the girl that got away, is what Kawhi Leonard is.
I think the Spurs, and somebody had put in here too, they said the Spurs dodged a bullet, and I'd have to concur with that, because in hindsight, you wouldn't be able to understand the gravity of the injury that he has, right? The nagging injury that he has, and how it's played on him throughout the years after he's left the Spurs. Yes, he won a chip with Toronto, but he's always on that minutes restriction, or they have to go ahead and rest him. He misses more than half the season. There's a lot of different factors in there. When Kawhi's great, he's great. He's the best two-way player in basketball. When healthy, when he can contribute, when he's out there playing with the team. But that's the thing is that he's never out there on a consistent basis. And Elias is here. He's saying, we all don't forget that Joe was giving was it Kawhi Leonard his flowers about 2 months ago, and I'd still give him his flowers as a Spur. If it wasn't for Kawhi Leonard, that 2014 championship wouldn't have been had. The Spurs needed Kawhi to step up in order for the Spurs to go ahead and handedly beat the Miami Heat, because they needed somebody else to step up besides Tony, besides Manu, besides Timmy. They needed somebody else to step up, and that was Kawhi Leonard. The Heat didn't have an answer for Kawhi Leonard in the 2014 NBA Finals.
But it got me thinking last night, Joe, about Tony Parker's comments that really pissed off Kawhi. And a lot of Spurs fans think that that's a scapegoat, that Kawhi was going to leave anyway, go to LA, as you mentioned. He is from Los Angeles, so maybe he did want to go home. Maybe it was all BS, and it was just all an excuse. And yes, he never should have ghosted the city of San Antonio, never should have ghosted Pop. When the Spurs went out to New York to go talk to him, and he wouldn't meet with them, he was dodging them. All that is unprofessional, and it was Bush League, and that is true. But I look at it and I think to myself, this is a business, Joe. And it doesn't matter if you're in the media, doesn't matter if you're a sports athlete. It's a business, and at some point you move on, right? Because the train has to keep going. And I think that the Spurs did that with Tim, Tony, and Manu, where we love the fact that they brought us the 5 rings, but that 5th ring was not brought to us by Tim, Tony, and Manu. That 5th ring was Kawhi. That 5th ring was Danny Green.
And should it? Because Kawhi was instrumental in that 2014 NBA championship for the San Antonio Spurs. Isn't that warranted enough for him to be having his number 2 jersey raised to the rafters? There are teams up there that have done less.
Exactly. I mean, how many Finals MVPs are there that are not on the rafters right now?
Avery Johnson, how many does he have?
He's going to retire at some point, and I truly believe that it's going to happen at some point because the Spurs are a principled organization and need to make things right. At some point, you look back at it as the glory days. But I look back at 2014, can't believe it's been more than a decade. But you look back at 2014, and I think that we didn't give Kawhi the flowers that we should have given. It was like, oh my God, Tim got 5. It was, oh my God, Tony and Manu got 4. You know, the race for Sace and all that stuff, as opposed to saying, you know what? The crown has been passed. The torch has been passed to Kawhi Leonard. It never happened, Joe. It never happened. As long as Tim, Tony, and Manu were in the building, it never happened. And then for Tony to go off on Kawhi, I'm starting to see a little bit differently, because the reason why I'm bringing this up, Joe, because I never felt this way before. The reason why I feel like this now is because I see that they're not letting Pop go.
Is
They're
it the
being
organization or is
loyal.
it the fan base that don't let him go?
Well, I think the organization allows that to happen because it's cutthroat in any other city when it comes to players, when it comes to coaches. Michael Malone, 5 games to go before the NBA playoffs, gets gone. Taylor Jenkins, you know, they were a game away from the 3 seed, gone. You see all of this cutthroat. We saw Joe Mazzulla of the Boston Celtics when Jason Tatum went down, grabbing his leg. I don't know if you saw that video, Joe. Tatum goes down with an apparent injury, but you know, some players kind of milk it a little bit. The trainer's going to go out and rush out to go get him. Joe Mazzulla, the coach, pulled the trainer back, and started yelling down the court, "Get up! Get up!" And it's just like, it's cutthroat everywhere else, but in San Antonio, we're like the Olive Garden. It's family over here. You know, and it's frustrating, man. It's frustrating, like, because they didn't pass the torch to Kawhi. Kawhi wanted to go out, become his own thing, teams up with Paul George, and now they're a team that you kind of don't want to play. And maybe they lose this series. It's been 2 really good games against the Nuggets, but they stole home court. You know, maybe it's something that you look at. And can Kawhi Leonard be healthy for 6 weeks, Joe? He doesn't need to be healthy for the full year. Can he be healthy for 6 weeks? That's the big question. I think he can.
Think so.
Then again, there's also a chance he'll miss game 3.
He's gonna miss. I'm telling you. You know, the funny thing about Spurs fan is that talking about Kawhi is still a sore spot for him. But I guarantee you, if the Spurs found a way, some way, somehow, Kawhi wanted to come back to San Antonio, Spurs fans will be like, "Come home,
Yeah,
come home,
that's
Kawhi."
all
You can
forgiven.
imagine, put Kawhi and you pair him alongside Wemby. Oh, come on, bro. I mean, that scenario won't happen, but if it happened, Spurs fans would be going to the closet, taking out their number 2 jersey, dusting it off. They would welcome him back with open arms, even though he left and he kind of left a sour taste in Spurs fans' mouth. They would welcome him back here to San Antonio.
Kawhi reminded Spurs fans that this is a business.
Yeah.
And he also reminded Spurs fans that not everyone's going to gel with Pop. He also reminded Spurs fans that not everyone's going to gel with a certain type of leadership and that every player is different. And I think Spurs fans are spoiled, you know, because we look at Tim, and Tim Duncan was a perfect player. He was a perfect teammate. You know, it's funny. I was telling Chica about her son the other day.
Yeah.
Chica's son is in an Ivy League school getting his master's over at Rice, right? He's going to wrap it up in about a year or so. He's also somebody who's a mechanic. He's also somebody who does a lot of work with his hands, a lot of tools that he works with. He's also an athlete. He also rides a motorcycle. He's also, you know, good-looking kid. He's all of these different things. And to Chica, that's her son. That's like just something that she's grown up with, that she's raised very well. But I was telling her that guy is like just off the charts amazing. And because of that, we think that other kids or other people his age are doing the same thing, but they're not. And we look at Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan was somebody who was so humble, like Chica's son, very humble, very nice, very coachable, all of that stuff. That doesn't exist. Chica's son doesn't exist out in the wild. It's just weird. And I think the Spurs fans saw that and saw Tony Parker, who was like, oh, shucks, I'm 19 years old in the NBA. This is a dream come true. And then he had Manu Ginobili coming in from South America, Argentina, winning the gold medal with a chip on his shoulder when it comes to all that. This was a perfect storm that will never happen again. Kawhi Leonard showed us that this is something that is a business. It's a business, and I got to tell Spurs fans, I am one of them. I'm a massive Spurs fan. We got to understand that Wemby is seeing this as a business. He's not seeing this as a family. Are we under the impression that Wemby really gives a crap about whether Pop comes back or not? Maybe as a man to man, he wants him to be better, like we all do.
Yeah,
do you think Wemby looks at Pop and goes, "Man, I want that guy for the next 5 years. I want an 81-year-old coach." Then why not just move forward? $5 super chat coming in from Sam Salinas saying, "BS on the family thing." Glad he said that because Spurs sports entertainment needs calling out. We had to learn from TMZ. Family doesn't hide things from family. Talking about that video of Greg Popovich being taken out of Ruth's Chris Steakhouse on a stretcher, put into an ambulance last week. 3 days went by. TMZ had the video. San Antonio media knew nothing about it. The Spurs were going to sweep it under the rug and like nothing happened. And we now find out. But that's the whole thing about the family thing, is that I think that the Spurs are family to themselves. But I don't think the Spurs include the fans necessarily as family.
They don't care about you. They don't care about your feelings. The Holt family does not care about you, Spurs fans. They only care about the money that you bring to said organization to make their pockets bigger. They just want the money. They want the cash. That's it.
Last night, the Knicks and Pistons even things up as well. So that series is now tied up at 1 apiece. Tonight, got 3 games on the docket. Bucks, Pacers. That's a 6 p.m. tip-off on NBA TV. Grizzlies taking on the Thunder. The Bucks and Pacers lead that series 1-0. Thunder coming off a 51-point victory in Game 1. Favored by just 14.5. Bet the mortgage, Joe. Bet the rent. 14.5 points. I think they'll cover that again. And then the Lakers and Timberwolves. T-Wolves stole Game 1. See if the Lakers can bounce back in Game 2. 9 p.m. tip-off on True TV.
Hey, I was going to show this to you. So you can see
rather. Go ahead.
So y'all can see this for yourselves. There was a big victory in the NBA, and that was the Detroit Pistons finally getting a win after 17 years. They bested the New York Knicks to tie the series at 1 apiece.
Yeah.
First playoff win since 2008. 17 years. You know who holds the drought right now for the longest playoff drought in NBA history right now without any wins? And that would be the Brooklyn Nets.
Really?
Now that the Detroit Pistons have won, now it's the Brooklyn Nets that hold that acronym of having that longest drought without a playoff win.
The Pistons are a very interesting team, man. They built through the draft. Famously, they missed out on the number 1 pick multiple years. It was like they had the number 1 odds to get the number 1 pick, but then they dropped to number 5 back-to-back years. But they have an interesting team. Now, Cade Cunningham going out there and being a contender for most improved player is a joke, though, because he's the number 1 overall pick in the draft a few years ago. You shouldn't be a contender for most improved player. But congratulations to the Pistons. The Spurs lost the coin flip yesterday, by the way. I don't know if you saw the news on that.
Actually, I have the stat on that, too, so I'll bring that up for you.
Yeah, so the Spurs had a chance of having the 13 pick, but they dropped to 14. Oddly enough, it looks like Atlanta's going to pick above us. So Atlanta has a trade that they had with Sacramento. Sacramento would need to be in the top 4, which is like a 4 or 5% chance of moving into the top 4. If that doesn't happen, Atlanta actually gets that pick at number 13. So Spurs, as of right now, going into the draft are 8-14.
Yeah, this is the results of the drawing. This is directly from NBA Communications. They said the Phoenix Suns won a tiebreaker with the Portland Trail Blazers. The Dallas Mavericks won a tiebreaker with the Chicago Bulls. Sacramento Kings won a tiebreaker with the Atlanta Hawks. The Memphis Grizzlies won a tiebreaker with the Golden State Warriors, and the Milwaukee Bucks second and third place in the tiebreaker drawings went to the Milwaukee and Golden State respectively. And it says the Los Angeles won a tiebreaker with the Denver Nuggets. Indiana won and the Lakers second, third, and fourth place in the tiebreaker drawing went to Indiana, the LA Clippers, and Denver respectively. And it also shows the percentage chances of said teams actually garnering the first overall pick. And if we look at San Antonio right now, San Antonio finished with the record of 34-48. Their win percentage was 0.415. Lottery odds, 6%.
6% with the number 8 pick, but we also pick up 0.7% with the Atlanta pick. So we're at 6.7 combined. We have a 26% chance with the top pick, the 8 pick that we have to move up into the top 4. We have a 3.5% chance almost of using the 14 pick to do that. I did the odds in my head the other day. Got the calculator out. I calculated, and I need someone to check the math on it, that the Spurs have a 1 in 238 chance of picking 1 and 2. That was the odds that I calculated with my calculator the other day. I could be wrong, but 1 in 238 sounds about right. But imagine if that was the case. Even if it wasn't the case, what if the Spurs got the 2 and 4 pick? What if the Spurs got the 1 and 3? That would be insanely remarkable. But we have about a 3 in 10 chance of moving into the top 4 with one of those picks to get either Cooper Flagg, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, or VJ Edgecombe, or whoever they would feel fit at that point.
Yeah.
Spurs, I remember famously a couple years ago, lost a tiebreaker coin flip. The fact that they do coin flips is weird, Joe. That's a weird way of deciding it. They lost a coin flip a couple of years ago. Guess what ended up happening?
What happened?
They got Victor Wembanyama because of that. We got slotted in a certain position. Ping pong balls went that way to get Victor Wembanyama.
You know what?
We also lost a three-way. We also lost a three-way coin flip a couple of years ago, where we could have been drafting in the early 20s. We ended up falling backward, and we got Malachi Branham.
I was going to say the one thing that I remember specifically from watching the NBA draft lottery unfold live on TV. They had the team sitting there, the 4 teams sitting there, and they're sitting next to each other. It was the Rockets. They were doing a live stream. Rockets fans were doing a live stream. And they got so mad, man. It's like, all right, man, this is going to be it. This is going to be it. And then, no, they called the Rockets' name, and they were like, what was it? I think 3rd or 4th or something like that year. And then they get to the Spurs.
Yeah, because
the Hornets. Who was it? Was it the Hornets or was it the Wizards?
Yeah, it was the Hornets and Portland. So you looked at it, and the team with the best odds, or tied with the best odds, was Detroit, and they got picked at number 5.
Yep.
So you had the Spurs and the Rockets there with the 2 best chances, and then number 4 it became the Rockets, and then they're like number 3, and then it dawned on them, the realization that Wemby was going to go to the Spurs. They're like, don't. It was like not San Antonio, and then they pulled the Charlotte's name, and then all of a sudden you saw Victor Wembanyama going to the Spurs, and Wemby looked confused because when Houston's name was called at 4, he looked around like, was that supposed to happen? But we'll find out.
They have the conspiracy theory things. They were saying that, look, Wemby was making it very clear from the get-go that he had wanted to come to San Antonio. They even have pictures of him when he's a young kid over in France wearing a Spurs jersey. He's always talking about the San Antonio Spurs, Tony Parker and Boris Diaw, and he ran into them, and he thought the world of them, and he had nothing but good things to say every time they asked him about San Antonio. What do you think of playing for the Spurs? And Coach Pop, and he always said the right thing. And they're like, you know what? It's the NBA's way of saying, you know what? We know that we're going to go ahead and give it to the Spurs. We're going to make them a Spur. It was like it was preordained already.
Well, I think there was a heart and head type of situation. I think his heart wanted to be with the Spurs. I think his head wanted to be with the Rockets. And Spurs fans don't want to hear that. Yeah. But I think he looked at the Rockets roster and thought to himself, man, we can start winning right away. But going to San Antonio, I mean, that Rockets roster, Ime Udoka, young, vibrant head coach, or do you want a 75-year-old head coach with a bad roster? And so his heart might have said, yeah, he was a Spurs fan, Boris Diaw, Tony Parker, all of that back in the day, right? But at the end of the day, it's a business, right? You want to win. Houston's a more metropolitan of a city compared to San Antonio. So I think there was a heart and head type of thing. Oddly enough, I think that those were his two choices that he wanted the most. I don't think he wanted Detroit. I don't think he wanted, Charlotte. I don't think he wanted Portland. I think he wanted San Antonio or Houston. One for the heart, one for the head.
You think there's less things to do here in San Antonio? What are you going to do in Detroit? It's cold as hell, dude. I mean, you're out there in purgatory, dude. They might as well ship you off to Toronto. It's cold as hell. And Toronto, there's things to do out there. Beautiful women, nice city, clean living, all that. But most of the year, you're frozen out. Everybody's out and about. When you have your, downtime there with 3 months of the summertime where you can walk around and not have to be freezing your ass off. Other than that, you're just cold most of the time, dude. There's nothing to do out there.
Hey, man, got baseball in some places. You can go do that. But you're right.
Maryland, dude. Like I said, Maryland's a beautiful place. I like going to visit my sister-in-law in the summertime.
Yeah.
The 3 months when the weather's great. Other than that, you're freezing your ass off. You're having to shovel out to get the car out every morning. No, it doesn't sound like a good time to me.
Midtown Texas reaches out to us on our YouTube stream. Chat powered by MCS General Contracting saying Mike's heart is in Houston. His head is in San Antonio. I think the opposite. My heart's in San Antonio. Well, my head is in Conroe. Also my heart, I guess you could say. You know what? Maybe you're right. Conroe, not Houston. Houston's an hour down south. Don't like it over there. But Joe, let's give some love to MCS General Contracting. They've been with us since day one. You like to wear the hat during the shows. On the flip side, we're going to talk about the NFL draft because already an announcement's been made. I know the draft doesn't start for 56 hours, but an announcement has already been made. We'll talk about it on the other side. Let's give some love to MCS.
MCS General Contracting, more than 30 years of combined experience in concrete placement. They are the best in the business, honest pricing, high quality work. They get going on house foundations, driveways, concrete patio decks. If you want to extend the deck, extend the driveway. If you're a business and you need to put together a slab, a parking lot, or other concrete placement services or sidewalks, reach out to MCS General Contracting at 210-774-9155. They're confident in their skills, so give Chris Leha over at MCS General Contracting a call at 210-774-9155. And thank you for being a sponsor of this show.
Man, I'm going to be freaking out when it comes to the NFL draft, but there's that number there, 210-774-9155, 210-774-9155 for your concrete placement needs. Doesn't matter if it's residential, business, or government related. They can help you out. Those driveways, those parking lots, slabs, ramps, basketball courts, pickleball courts, tennis courts, they can do it all. MCS General Contracting, 210-774-9155. Joe, I was watching Get Up earlier today. And by the way, the NFL draft is in 56 hours, Thursday night. And the number one pick in the draft is going to be Cam Ward, quarterback from Miami, who played for UIW here in San Antonio. Going to go to the Tennessee Titans because Adam Schefter reported this morning that the Tennessee Titans have already called Cam Ward and said, hey, you're the number one pick. So there's not going to be a dramatic, like the movie Draft Day with Kevin Costner. It's not going to be any drama when it comes to it all. But the mock drafts are coming in. The final mock drafts are out. And the big question, yeah, that's the one I want to look at. I'm glad you brought that up. The big question is going to be what happens with Shadur Sanders of Colorado. Because I'm looking for his name there, Joe. I see 3 quarterbacks there, but I don't see Shadur Sanders' name on there.
You forget to put him on the top in the first round?
Dude, all it takes is one team to fall in love with him. But let's look at that real fast. They have number 1, Cam Ward going out number 1 overall. Travis Hunter number 2, Abdul Carter, Will Campbell 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's pretty standard, right? Almost every single mock draft is having that, unless you have a mock draft come up and saying that Shadur Sanders is going to be traded for by maybe the New Orleans Saints, for example. But in this particular mock draft, they have Jackson Dart of Ole Miss going to the Saints, that quarterback there, right? They have Matthew Golden going 12 to Texas, the UT wide receiver. But It'd be so bizarre if we don't see Shadir Sanders' name being called. And a lot of people are coming out saying, look, man, he's going to be a good NFL player, but he's maybe not elite. He might have elite accuracy, elite arm, but he doesn't have the tools. He doesn't have the legs.
He might
right?
be all right.
So he could be all right. I mean, I was just watching Get Up this morning with Mike Greenberg, and he was basically saying, he goes, you do realize that in the past few years or so, the best quarterback in the draft has not been the one drafted first, right? I mean, famously last year, Jaden Daniels was taken number 2 overall. Caleb Williams was the number 1 overall pick. Jaden Daniels was the one who led the Commanders into the playoffs, won Rookie of the Year. The year before that, C.J. Stroud was number 2 overall. Bryce Young went number 1, and C.J. Stroud had a big rookie campaign, led the Texans to the playoffs. So it is possible to be the second or third quarterback chosen and do well. We saw a player like Pat Mahomes not be taken early on, right? He was taken number 10 in the draft, somewhere around there. So you don't have to be number 1 overall. But what I found interesting about this particular mock draft, because I'm hearing more about this from a lot of the NFL insiders, all these articles that I'm reading about it. Ashton Genty, who's been projected to go number 6 to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah.
What happens if at number 5 Jacksonville takes him?
He's going to be in football purgatory over there. What have they won?
Well, Jacksonville's done this before. They got Leonard Fournette in the top 5 back in the day. So it's not unheard of for them to go after a running back like that. And then the question becomes, when it comes to quarterbacks, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Do you believe in Shadir Sanders, Jackson Dart, or do you believe in another quarterback out there like Jalen Milroe, who they have at number 21 going to the Steelers? Jalen Milroe, guess what? He doesn't have the accuracy of Shadir Sanders. Shadir Sanders is a more accurate thrower, throws a tighter spiral, is a better arm. But you know what Jalen Milroe does? He runs a 4.37.
It's fast.
And he played SEC defenses his entire career.
What's his ethnicity, Mike?
He is African-American, Joe, and he can run.
I knew you couldn't let it down, bro. Come on, Mike.
But you look at the Saints. Look at the Saints at number 9. And I'm not just talking to them because they're my favorite team, but I think that everything hinges on 5 and 9. All the mock drafts it's kind of like people's brackets for March Madness, right? One of the top teams falls, then all of a sudden, boom, everything, your brackets are busted, right?
Yeah.
All it takes is for Jacksonville to go, yeah, we want Ashton Genty. Because we know Cam Ward's going 1. We know Travis Hunter's going 2. We know Abdul Carter's going 3. That's going to happen unless somebody trades up.
I'm not opposed to what they have the Cowboys projected to take at number 12. We've talked about it before. And Matthew Golden, you pair him alongside CD. Now you have some targets.
Right.
Or Dak. And I mean, if you're going to throw the ball and you don't have a running game to speak of, you need more targets. This would help solidify that, let's say, hole in the offense for the Cowboys, so to speak. The other thing that was interesting to me is running backs. There's not a lot of running backs that are being chosen in the first round. There's only 2 that I see here out of, just looking down the list here.
Yeah,
Amari and Hampton at number 20, and the other running back here was Ashton Genty, as we just talked about. They have him projected going to the Jaguars at number 5.
Well, it's interesting when I started using the phrase "beauty is in the eye of the beholder," because you look back in time. You mentioned CeeDee Lamb, right?
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb was chosen in the 2020 draft at number 17, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. Do you know who was chosen number 22?
Oh.
Justin Jefferson out of LSU. Arguably the best wide receiver in all of football, was chosen 5 spots behind. CeeDee Lamb, fantastic wide receiver, top 5 wide receiver in the game. Justin Jefferson happens to be the top 2 wide receivers in the game. But they saw it and they decided to do that. Now here's the thing. Who was picked 21? 1 spot ahead of Justin Jefferson.
Who?
The Philadelphia Eagles selected wide receiver Justin Rager.
Jeez.
Can you imagine if they had chosen Justin Jefferson? Instead they go after Jalen Rager instead. Absolutely insane. But you look back at the drafts and you think to yourself, why did this happen? Why was this player drafted number 1 overall? Why didn't how did this person fall? I mean, Justin Herbert was drafted after Tua Tagovailoa that draft, for crying out loud.
Look at this stat.
Henry Ruggs, who's in jail right now, was drafted ahead of CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson.
And check out this. I put this graphic up for you, and it shows only 14 running backs have been drafted in the first round in the last decade, going back to 2015. And these are the name of the running backs that have been selected here, going back to 2015. And they went number 10 overall was Todd Gurley. Number 15.
Gurley had a couple of good years.
And then you have Melvin Gordon, okay, Ezekiel Elliott, Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Rashad Penny, Sony Michael, and you have Josh Jacobs, Clyde Edwards, Hilaire, or I don't know how to say
Hilaire,
there, Najee Harris. You have Travis
Etienne,
and you have Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, you have 5 hits and 3 decent ones out of the, how many were there? 15?
15, dude. And Ezekiel Elliott's washed, dude. He didn't last very long.
Yeah, the 5 hits on there were Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Bijan Robinson, and Jahmyr Gibbs. You actually had some pretty decent hits, short-lived careers. Todd Gurley, Zeke Elliott, Leonard Fournette. Fournette had a longer career, but as far as like being, he was just on a bad team all this entire time.
Still there.
ATN, Najee Harris. The big misses though have been Sony Michel and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Those were the 2 biggest misses of this bunch.
Yeah.
But I think that people are looking at running backs a little bit differently, because they were out of favor for so long. Like, you could win without a good running game. You just need to have 2 running backs out there who are competent. But now we're seeing, with Saquon Barkley doing well, with Christian McCaffrey doing well, that, you know what? If you have a solid RB1, like a legit, elite RB1, you're gonna do good. You're gonna be fine. But I'm watching right now in the background over here. ESPN is asking the question, and maybe we can piggyback off of this. It's asking the question: is Dion Sanders affecting where Shedeur Sanders is going to be going to play? Is it possible that it's detrimental, not in his favor, to have Dion Sanders back there doing things? Like, would you want to have that media circus?
Infamously, what happened when, let's say, what's his name? The Peyton brother. What's his name? Eli got selected. He was supposed to go to the San Diego Chargers, but his daddy advocated for him and said, no, he's not going to be a Charger. We want him to go to the Giants. And sure enough, a deal was had, because his daddy had to intervene for him, and he went to the Giants. He went to where he wanted to go. I think the same thing can be said for Dion. Dion's advocating for his boy. He knows that he's in some trouble right now, because a lot of the mock drafts don't have him going in the first round. They said he might even go undrafted.
Who's that?
Shedeur.
Well, Shedor's going to be drafted. Not drafted in the first round, though.
Yeah, no, not in the first round. But they said there's a possibility that if the other teams don't see, hey, they don't really trust him, he could go undrafted. You have to look at all the possibilities. That could be one. Well, is there a high possibility that could happen? Probably not. He'll probably be a 2nd or 3rd round pick, no doubt. But I think Dion at some point is advocating for his boy, and he's talking to probably the teams that Shedeur Sanders wants to go play for, and trying to go ahead and paint him in a good light here and be like, oh yeah, he could do this, he can do that, he can go and help your team. If it wasn't for daddy advocating for him, what, other than just the name Sanders, how good of a quarterback is he really? Is he the most overrated quarterback to come into the draft this year?
Well, I think the interesting thing about Shedeur Sanders is that he didn't have a solid team around him, and he was still winning games and putting up numbers anyway. So, he played with an HBCU that was not a winning pedigree of a team, and he won with them. Then he goes to Colorado. They got the whole program. They start winning games. Now, they weren't going off and winning 11 or 12 games, but to win 7, 8, 9 games with a Colorado roster that was made up on the fly, getting rid of the dozens of players that they did. The big question is, what if you actually gave Shedeur Sanders some weapons? Can he actually be better than what he did in college? He was good in college. He was very good in college. But could he actually be better? The problem with Dion Sanders being in the room, though, is that he's a coach. And a lot of NFL players want Dion to be a head coach. And does somebody want to have Dion in the locker room when everyone's maybe wanting him to be the coach? You know what I'm saying? Like, is he a threat? I'm seeing a quote right now from Adam Schefter talking about teams drafting Shedeur Sanders, saying, quote, "Short of Pittsburgh's Mike Tomlin, any other coach who drafts Sanders would be comfortable with his standing within the organization. Because if that team struggles and the fan base is calling for a coaching change, speculation will start to swirl about Sanders' father taking over." Oh my God! It was so funny because it's on in the background, and I hit pause when I saw a quote from Adam Schefter. I had no idea what he was talking about, but that's what we're talking about. Dion's in the room. He's a legit NFL coordinator, head coach candidate. He did with the HBCU, Pac-5 team. He's a Super Bowl champion, a legend, very respected in the NFL, was a celebrity.
Yeah, all those things.
Do you want to have so Adam Schefter coming out saying that Mike Tomlin's the only coach that would be comfortable in his own skin having Dion Sanders there? So let's say that we have Shedeur Sanders go to the New Orleans Saints at 9. Kellen Moore. Does Kellen Moore want Dion Sanders in the locker room?
Absolutely not.
Does Schottenheimer with the Cowboys want Dion Sanders in the room?
Absolutely not. It won't give him time to shine or show what he can do on his own.
Exactly. So Big Sean PD reaching out to us on our YouTube stream, powered by MCS General Contractors, and saying that's why the Steelers will take Shedeur, because it makes sense. Because he's not threatened. There's not a lot of NFL coaches out there that wouldn't be threatened by the presence of Dion Sanders.
Yeah,
that needs a coach. Because typically, if you're taking the top 9 or 10, Joe, you're the team that's bad.
Yeah, if you're a rookie coach and you have Dion there in the locker room, that's intimidating.
Right.
And that's why Tomlin would be able to handle it. He'd be like, "This is my squad." Dion probably be like, "Okay, but I'm going to say something." And he'd be like, "You can put your input, but this is my team."
Yeah. And would you even want to have that?
Probably not, because you'll have a lot of back and forth and something will spill out eventually.
Man, I'm just looking at this draft thinking to myself, what if the Cowboys take Matthew Golden from Texas over Tet McMillan from Arizona? Because that's what that mock draft said right there. And Tet is considered to be the best wide receiver in the draft. Golden happens to be a little bit faster.
I wouldn't be mad.
You might be in a situation there where you look at it and you think to yourself, did they get the right one? No different than Henry Ruggs and Jalen Reagor being drafted ahead of Justin Jefferson. Yeah. That we don't know. We don't know. And it's not like the NBA where you say it's player development. I think in the NFL, you are who you are, man. If you're going to be a star, you're going to be a star.
You already have the tools,
Yeah.
And you can either come in and have a dramatic impact right away for said team, or if you don't, and it's going to take you a couple seasons to get cooking, you might be gone, or you might be riding on the bench.
So we have a name that I haven't seen before, Rich Andrew Rio, coming in on our stream. Sending a shout out from the Philippines. I'm a big fan of the WWE. My name is DJ Rio. Thanks. I have a daughter who's Filipina. She was out there in the Philippines last year for a few weeks. Welcome to the show. Saying he's a big fan of the WWE. Now, Joe, this is where I take a back seat a little bit, because you have something to say about what happened last night on ESPN involving Pat McAfee and some WWE stars. Please tell us all that went down, the smackdown that went down.
The funny thing is that when I was watching the Pat McAfee show, right, and a lot of people aren't fans of the Pat McAfee show. I'm a fan of the Pat McAfee show. I respect what he does. But more importantly, they had some of the WWE stars on the show after WrestleMania took place. So I tuned in, and I was watching. And one of the guys they had on there was Paul Heyman, man, the wise guy.
Mm-hmm.
And this was hilarious, dude. I mean, I'm used to seeing Paul Heyman in the ring, and he's a manager. They call him the wise guy because he'll go ahead and turn on you really quick. He'll be in your corner for some time, but he's always got his own agenda, and that's what the beauty of Paul Heyman is. He came out on the Pat McAfee show and immediately started talking crap to the crowd, dude. He told one guy in the crowd, talking back and forth, he said he was going to get him deported. He was calling out Shannon Sharp. This dude was cooking, man. It's like, I'm not used to seeing Paul Heyman in this type of scenario. And I'm like, I like this dirty rat bastard. I like his style, dude. He was cooking on the Pat McAfee show. And I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed
Hey, I need you to take this, dude. I got go ahead and play this. I do need to take a phone call. I apologize, man.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll go ahead and take you off stream for now. So either way, I was enjoying the WWE stars that were on the Pat McAfee show. Paul Heyman, one of those. Like I said, we're not used to seeing him in this light, just cooking and doing his thing. If you haven't gone to see it, you need to go check it out, especially if you're a fan of the WWE, like I am. The other thing that I liked as well is just seeing the aftermath. Pat McAfee talking with even John Cena. And John Cena, too, he doesn't really get to talk about how he really feels with the fan base and, his character and all that. Couldn't really come out and talk a lot about what's going on behind the scenes on the Pat McAfee show, because he has other specials that are coming out. And he says he's going to let everything come out in October. And even on Raw, he said, you got to watch Raw. Of course, he's going to go ahead and plug the show. Either way, man, it was great to see John Cena just cook and talk about his character and what it meant to be John Cena in the WWE for so many years, and his interaction with the fan base. And at the end of the day, he's kind of saying, he's given everything to these guys and they still boo him and whatnot, and he doesn't know him anything. They don't really know him. They know his persona, they know the character he portrays, but they don't know him as the man. All right. But either way, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. And like they said, Tavares says, idea for tomorrow, check out the anonymous NBA polls for the players by Athletic. I'll check that out. And look at this. Chris Gonzalez says, John Cena version of, I am just here so I don't get fired. Somebody say WWE. Yeah, of course, man. We like the WWE. And I got to see, like I said, John Cena cook on the Pat McAfee show. I enjoyed it. If you haven't gone to see the replay of the Monday show for the Pat McAfee show, go and check it out. It was great. And I also like WWE Raw. You got to watch Raw right after WrestleMania, because like Elias was saying, because we're talking back and forth, this is the setup for storylines that are going to be, happening throughout the rest of the season. And that's the beauty of watching WWE Raw. And WWE Raw did not disappoint last night. It was great. They had John Cena come out here. And this is one of the highlights as he's addressing the crowd, talking, saying that he is the last great champion that the WWE is going to see. And out of nowhere, you have Randy Orton come out and give Cena an RKO as he's monologuing. This is great. And the crowd goes wild. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit, I got to say. I liked it. And they also had the women's matches as well. Yeah, you had Liv Morgan. They went ahead and, well, you got to go and watch the match, but the women's tag team titles have switched hands in one day. That was quick. So I enjoyed that as well. They had Io Sky and Stephanie Acker. She was out there as well, and they were doing their thing. That was probably the match of the night. The ladies put on a great performance. I enjoyed it quite a bit, man. But there you go. There's my WWE talk right there. So go and check out Raw if you hadn't. Go check out the replay of the Pat McAfee show. A lot of great things happening if you're a WWE fan. And I look forward to seeing what they're going to do here with Elias and his WWE talk as well. But we also got to see another highlight here, which I'll show real quick. I know Mike is here. Mike, you got to see this, dude. This was funny. Pat McAfee, he knows what he's doing out there, Mike. He knows what he's doing. And this is him being part of the WWE universe here. They have Gunther, who tapped out infamously in the WrestleMania match that he had, and he's out there. He lost to Jey Uso, but Pat McAfee and Gunther got into it, and look at Gunther's out here choking him out, and he's actually turning red from his face and all that. They have the Pat McAfee faithful, his cronies there trying to jump in and try to save their boss. It was great TV, man. Pat McAfee getting choked out there, turning red. They're trying to really sell it. He's a great actor, man. I can see the allure of Pat McAfee in the WWE arena, as far as his play-by-play calling. He does a great job. You're muted, by the way, Mike.
Sorry about that. I heard a lot of people were kind of complaining that he was in there. Some were calling him a wrestling poser. Is that true, Joe?
It's because he's an outsider, and they talked about that on the Pat McAfee show. And even like when you're watching him and doing his announcing, just like the other brother, the Logan brother, you have Jake Paul and Logan Paul. Logan Paul gets a lot of hate because he's an outsider and he came into the WWE. Same thing as Pat McAfee. And the thing is that there's levels to it, right? The WWE doesn't like outsiders. They want people who have grown up in the industry or people who have put in the work, getting injured and whatnot and rising up the ranks. And then you finally deserve to be on the big stage. Pat McAfee and Logan Paul kind of skip to the front of the line. And not to say that each one of them isn't talented in their own right. It's the way that they got there that some of the WWE wrestlers have a problem with it, and for example, Pat McAfee came in there. He was able to wrestle. He's been in some wrestling matches. And not only that, but he does a great job as far as his commentary goes, just out there calling the matches, and who would have thought you would have gotten that type of talent out of one Pat McAfee? He's great when it comes to doing his live stream, but who would have thought that he has the ability or the talent to go out there and to be able to call WWE matches? He does a great job. And he's out there with a great Michael Cole, so that's a problem that they have because they're outsiders. They're not supposed to be performing so well on this big stage, but they do because they have the talent to be there. And I think that's really what pisses everybody off at the end of the day.
Sith coming out saying we need Mike in WWE. Joe, how would I be as a wrestler, Joe? And would I wear a mask?
Oh no, man. You would be you'd probably be like Paul Heymon, the wise guy. You'd be a manager out there just to go ahead and talk shit to the fans, talk crap to the opposing wrestlers that your guy's going to go against, kind of like, be the one that goes out there and distracts them so your guy can win, going in the middle of the ring, hitting people in the nuts, kicking them in the nuts, holding that hand down, or getting your guy's leg and put it on the rope, so he won't lose the match. I could see you being the heel, kind of, so to speak, as far as the manager goes. You know.
Hand of a Fist is asking the question: who was your favorite wrestler, current or past? I don't have a current one. I did get to meet a wrestler. Ooh, name drop. Jimenez is name dropping. I got to meet the Miz in person, like at Super Bowl Radio Row. He was really nice, but I don't know who he is on. I saw him perform, by the way, when WWE like Raw is War, I think is what they call it. That was at the Frost Bank Center. So I saw the Miz then. But back in the day, my favorite wrestler was probably Kerry Von Erich. The claw, all that stuff. That was good. Who was your favorite
wrestler now? Well, past wrestler, I had two. I liked the Ultimate Warrior, and I like Jake the Snake. I actually got to meet Jake the Snake when he was in his prime.
Nice.
At my corner store, the Valero corner store there, because I was buying a Big Gulp, and I was like maybe preteen at the time, and he just happened to be there in his van, and he had it all decked out, said Jake the Snake on it. Guy was in there buying a 6-pack, and I'm like, "Hey, you're Jake the Snake." He goes, "Right on, kid." And he just gave me like dap, and then took off. And because I said, "You're my favorite wrestler," and he's like, "Right on, kid. Yeah, you go." And he took off. The other more recent, I'd say I like Jey Uso. I like Jey Uso, man. I think he's done a lot to get to where he's at now, and now he's the heavyweight. He owns the heavyweight title here in the WWE, and I like him, man. I like his persona. Yeah, I like Jey Uso a lot. So everybody out there knows what I'm talking about. Just say yeet. You do your thing like that, like Jey Uso does all the time. It's fun, man.
I just like the Ultimate Warrior when he would come back and he'd come back to life and he'd grab the rope and he'd start shaking the rope. And
that was Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, that's who I was thinking about. Ted DiBiase back in the day was known as the $1 Million Man, but I assume that when it comes to San Antonio sports, the $1 Million Man is actually Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs and Ken's Five. Let's give some love to the $1 Million Man, Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs.
I got to say, that's probably one of your best segues yet, Mike. Locked On Spurs is your daily Spurs podcast, hosted by Jeff Garcia, the lead Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Jeff has a healthy plethora of guests all the time on the Locked On Spurs podcast. You can also follow Jeff on threads at Jeff G Ken's 5 SA. You can also follow Jeff on Twitter at Jeff G Spurs Zone. So make sure you go ahead and give Jeff a follow not only on threads and Twitter, but also on YouTube at youtube.com/@Locked On Spurs. This is where you're going to be able to find the replay of the Locked On Spurs podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share.
Well, apparently Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs and Ken's 5 just reposted audio of Shannon Sharp.
Shay.
Where he's going off. Again, he's being accused of
being a cochino.
Being sued for millions of dollars. Apparently there's some audio of him being upset. I don't know about this whole audio being upset, Joe. It's like if you hadn't heard what I say when I get upset or when you get upset, this is what it is, man. I don't know, man. I don't think that proves anything, but it is what it is. But you go to Jeff Garcia and they do Locked On Spurs. I'll be a guest on Locked On Spurs later this week. And you can check them out. I subscribe on YouTube and on Spotify as well. Yeah. Joe, Adam Schefter of ESPN is reporting that the number 2 and 3 picks in the draft are up for grabs in the sense that those two teams, the Cleveland Browns and the New York Giants, have all said, we're willing to slide back. If you want to give us a godfather of a deal, we're ready to happen.
They're willing to make an offer, they can't refuse. You know what? Yeah. I was watching The Godfather, man. My son has been watching it, my oldest, and God, I forgot how long these movies are. And that's where you get that infamous quote, "I'm going to give you an offer you can't refuse." You know, That's what's happening right now in the NBA draft, or the NFL draft, should I say.
That's true. Joe, hey, is Fiesta in full swing right now?
No, it doesn't happen until Thursday. Thursday is the official kickoff of Fiesta. That's where you're going to have it over there at Hemisphere Park. You know, they have the whole shindig there. The kickoff of Fiesta. They have the medal trading. A lot of people from the media go out there. And they have their medals for trade, and they're giving them away. And they also have like a stage. They have some music. They're also going to have a firework display out there to end the night. And that's the official kickoff party for Fiesta that happens over at Hemisphere Park. Then on Friday, the official, I guess, events that are going on is, of course, it's going to be the Fiesta Oyster Bake's going to take place on the beautiful campus over there at St. Mary's. So you can go and take that in. I heard that the VIP did get sold out, though. I checked.
Oh, wow.
Saturday. So I will not be attending. I was going to go ahead and buy my VIP tickets, but they got sold out for that day. So I'm like, they had Friday available, but I'm like, I don't want to go Friday. I wanted to see Sugar Ray. I wanted to see Tonic.
Yeah.
You know? I don't want to mingle with the peasants. Yeah, I'm not mingling with the peasants, Mike. I don't care. I'm not going to be out there, and I don't want to be out there in the middle of the damn field in the sun and the hot and the heat and all that, getting beer spilled on me. I want to use the nice air-conditioned bathroom. I want to be in the tent with the shade over me. I want my own bar. I'm not going to mingle with the peasants. I ain't afraid to say it either. I'll say what I say. What if you can't afford the VIP? What happens, Mike? Make more money.
Yeah, you're talking to somebody who was 6-row at Boys to Men last weekend. So, like I said, I can't hang up in the rafters anymore, dude. I can't hang out in the $5 seats no more, man.
Say it, Mike. Don't be afraid.
Make more money.
Just say you don't want to mingle with the peasants, bro.
Dude, that's your phrase. I ain't gonna say it, man, because
you said it before. Don't be afraid.
I say it once. It's like you say it 100 times, man. That's the thing, man.
You already said it on here. We've got you on tape saying it.
Prove it.
We do. You just said it last week.
So the Athletic released its votes. 90 votes were in, where they asked NBA players anonymously, who's the most overrated player in the NBA? By far, with 14.4% of the vote, Tyrese Halliburton, the point guard.
Really?
Number 2, Rudy Gobert. Number 3, Trae Young. Number 4, Jimmy Butler. Number 5, Bradley Beal. Number 6, Draymond Green. Number 7, John Morant. Number 8, Julius Randle. Those are the 8 biggest ones. If you want to go 9 and 10, someone says Joel Embiid and Giannis.
How come no mention of LaMelo Ball? He's one of the most overrated players in the NBA right now. He's always injured. Yeah, he doesn't do anything. He doesn't move the needle, other than this him doing social media stuff. What is
Well,
he
I mean,
gonna do?
if you're gonna say move the needle because of injury, then Kawhi Leonard would top the list, right? But the
He's
fact
a
of the matter,
full-time NBA player, Mike.
but when they're actually on the court, who's overrated while on the court? I guess is what they're probably doing there.
Yeah, well, LaMelo Ball to me is one of the most overrated players in the NBA.
Joe, remember back in the day, back in the 90s or so, there was that actor named Hugh Grant.
I remember him. He was a dirty birdie, Mike.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. He hooked up with that hooker, right?
Yeah, he had the hooker. He had her in the room. Remember, he put her in the closet or something like that.
Yeah,
Wouldn't let her leave. And
So
instantly, he was with Elizabeth Hurley too. Remember?
yeah. So Elizabeth Hurley, who made a name for herself not because of anything that she did, is because of a dress that she wore to like the Oscars. And everyone was like, "Oh my God, that's like one of the most beautiful women ever to walk the earth." Joe, look it up on Google on Google right now. Look it up on Twitter. Who her new boyfriend is? Gag me with a spoon, like they said back in the 90s and the 80s. Her new boyfriend is none other than former country star Billy Ray Cyrus, Joe.
Ugh.
Billy Ray Cyrus is hooking up with Liz Hurley. Now, Liz Hurley is probably in her, 50s or 60s by now? But still, it's a weird combination. Do you have a photo, Joe?
Yeah, there's one right here. At least you can see it.
Oh, she posted this on social media. She made it Instagram official, Joe.
Says Elizabeth Hurley shocked fans claim she should be seeing red flags and new boyfriend Billy Ray Cyrus.
Now, Billy Ray, the father of Miley Cyrus, Billy Ray, what was his big song? Don't
Break your heart.
break my heart, my ache and break your heart. So yeah, that's him. And then he sang that song with Lil Nas X, Old Town Road. But Liz Hurley, man, still a looker after all these years, man, hooking up with Billy Ray Cyrus.
Man, I can't picture them together. They don't go together, man. It's like it's unnatural. It's unnatural, man. Like, why would you want to be with Billy Ray? He just kicked his girl to the curb. He doesn't have a good relationship with his children, especially with Miley.
Mm-hmm.
They've been estranged because of what he's done to the mom, and that's been made very public, very messy. I mean, and then she goes and hooks up with this guy. Like, he's a castaway, man. He's not that type of a dude you want to be with long term. She might be having fun with him right now, but long term, it's gonna break up and it's gonna be ugly, dude.
Yeah. Congratulations in order to Super Bowl MVP Jalen Hurts, according to TMZ Sports. He got married over the weekend to longtime girlfriend Bree Burrows. So
who was this?
Jalen Hurts.
Oh, Jalen Hurts. So congratulations, Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, he's showing it. He's showing photos on TMZ Sports of them getting married. Congratulations to him. Jalen Hurts is an interesting character, Ben, because talk about somebody who gets disrespected so often. He's gone to 2 Super Bowls. He's won 1. I think he lives rent-free in the minds of Dallas Cowboy fan who still believe that Dak Prescott is better than Jalen Hurts, which is not true. That's Jalen Hurts' new bride right there. Congratulations to them.
Good for him, man. But he's still an Eagle, dude.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, F the Eagles. You know who's a big Eagles fan? And it pains me to say this, man. Friend of the show, man. DJ LG.
Oh, really?
He's an Eagles fan. I'm like, bro, I freaking hate the Eagles, man. I can't believe you're a fan of the Eagles. He's like, yeah, man, I'm an Eagles fan. I'm just like, damn. I might have to not throw as much hate to the Eagles because now my boy DJ LG is an Eagles fan.
Joey Noriega reached out to us on our YouTube stream saying Fiesta Sucia comes out on Thursday. The Sucias are out, Joe.
What are you going to be in Fiesta fights this year?
0-0. I was almost 1-0 in an EDM concert fight, but
yeah, you should want to tell that story again. That one was funny.
Okay, so
Get your hands off of her.
So first of all, his hands weren't on her. He was trying to. So, I explained to Chica the whole scenario in my mind because we were in VIP. If we were with the peasants down low, no one knows who's with who. But in VIP, it's a small area. She'd been standing there the entire time with me for 3 hours, right? They knew she was taken. You can't tell me that guy rolling up when I left to go get her a beer or get her a cocktail didn't know, right? So when I explained that to her, I said, we were in VIP. They were sitting in VIP with us. They saw you with me. Okay? I said, that's why I was going to kick his ass. And so I come around the corner, literally hold my beer, and I go, hey, in a loud concert, EDM concert, I go, hey, as he's trying to put his arm around her from behind. She's not even paying attention. She's paying attention to the concert, dancing and singing, right?
Yeah,
he's trying to put her arm on, put her hand on her hip or her waist, whatever. And I said, hey, so loud. Hey! From about 20 feet, he heard me. And he turns around and goes, oh, man, my bad. I'm sorry, man, my bad. And I was like, he said, I'm sorry. And I said something to the effect of, you're going to be sorry. And I started making my way over to him. And then my friend dragged me down. And Chica was like, did you have to do that? And I explained after the fact that we're in the VIP. If we're hanging out down low and no one knows and there's thousands of people out there, we're in the VIP section with like 50 people. Okay, so everyone knew who was in that area the whole night. No, I'm not buying any of that crap.
Shooters got to shoot, Mike.
The head of a fist says that McFly also MJ. Hey, you get your damn hands off her.
Oh, God, dude. I would have paid money to see that, man. Hey, you get your hands off of her.
That's funny, dude.
She didn't have no idea what's going on. She's just trying to enjoy herself.
His friend held him back as JHNSB is making fun of. He did. He was like, dude, settle down, man. Calm down, man. Settle down. Grab me by the shoulder.
Oh, that's hilarious, dude. I can't imagine you getting like that. I've never seen you mad. That's probably why.
Well, it's one of those things where there's a book called How to Deal with Difficult People that talks about people's anger styles.
Yeah.
And mine is called the grenade, which means I am perfectly fine. But the second I get mad, you got to move out the way because I'm going to explode.
Chris Gonzalez, kick his ass, Seabass.
Joe, what was the last fight you were in?
Oh, God, dude. Man, I can't even remember. It's been so long ago. No, you know what? It was probably during the movie theater because I was there and we were watching. I think I was going to say Iron Man 3 at the time. There, I was with the family, the kids and the wife and everything. And these guys were just acting stupid, dude. They were just going through the theater.
Movie?
Yeah, they were just going through every aisle, just walking. They were two young, dumb kids. And they were just pushing people out of the way. And they were like, hey, man, what are you doing? And the kids just kept on walking. It was at the time where they were having the shootings in theaters, things of that nature, So everybody was kind of on a heightened sense,
Mm-hmm.
And these guys are being dumb. And I had, I just like, I'm not going to get into it, whatever. And they start coming down my aisle. And my daughter's trying to sit down. And she's sitting down. And she has her little tray and everything. And she's putting her seat down. And she's trying to sit down. And the guy comes and just kind of pushes her and almost makes her fall. And I told him, I said, hey, man, what the fuck do you think you're doing? I said, you don't get to push my daughter that way. And he was trying to push me too. And I got both of them. I picked him up and I pushed the other one back because I used his friend as a shield. And I pushed him to the ground. And I immediately jumped on one of them, turned him around and held him down, and the other dad jumped on the other loser. And then somebody went and got the the manager from the theater and said, "Hey, these guys are being obnoxious. They're being stupid." And they called the cops and they got him out of the theater.
Wow.
But everybody was there clapping and everything, and they were helping us hold these guys down because they're just being dumb. That's probably, I jumped into action only because these guys are being stupid. One of them pushed my daughter. You're not going to do that. You could do anything you want. Don't push my kid.
Yeah, if it's with your kids, man, you can't have that, man. You got to step up. There was a time when I was at Ingram Park Mall. I was probably late 20s, mid to late 20s, and it was Christmas time.
Yeah.
And Christmas time, there's just so many people there. There's like waves of people. Now, this was 20 years ago when people actually went to the mall, right? This was not the La Cantera days, the Amazon days. This was just, we went to the mall. And there was a lot of people. And you ever walk around and you actually bump shoulders with somebody, accidentally, it's just a lot of people, one person's walking this way, you're walking that way, and then you just kind of collide for a second.
Yeah.
Well, I bumped shoulders and I was like, no big deal. I was like, hey, my bad. And just kind of kept walking, right? But the guy that I bumped into was probably 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, right? And 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, they don't have the adult bodies yet, man. They're still stick figures.
Yeah.
They're probably 5'7" with an Edgar cut, weighing about $120. And I could hear the group of guys turn back around towards me from behind. And I can hear the one guy like egging him on, going, "You can let him do that to you, man?
No.
Man, you just got to step." And I could hear this conversation getting closer and closer and closer to me as I'm walking through the mall, right upstairs near Macy's.
Yeah.
And as they got closer and closer and closer, I turned around and I said, "What?" And the guy went. And he turned around. I probably cussed at him or said something, but the second that he got within a foot of me, I spun back around like, "What?" And no fight, no nothing. He backed off and he took off. It's so funny, man. I guess my way of saying this is that all these kids, dude, especially the ones that walk around with weapons, all of them have something in common. Bunch of pussies, dude.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the movie Friday, dude. What does the father say in Friday?
Just beat his ass,
He goes, "You don't need a gun. All you need is these,
Yeah.
right? You win some, you lose some, but at least you get to live to see another day."
You fight another day, yeah.
Yeah, but it's so stupid, man. It's so stupid.
Hey, I was going to show you this too. This was interesting to me. Saw this on the X, before we started the show. It's a graphic and it shows every team's most expensive player.
Right.
And this is, per the NBA, here. So they have Trae Young for the Hawks, Jaylen Brown for the Boston Celtics, and Claxton for the Nets, LaMelo Ball, of course, for the Hornets, and you have Lonzo Ball for the Chicago Bulls at the time. Now you're looking down the list here, and I'm like, okay, Anthony Davis, most expensive player for the Mavericks. Then you have Jokic for the Denver Nuggets, Curry, no surprise there for the Warriors. Looking at the Lakers, LeBron James, most highest paid player, Kawhi Leonard for the Lakers, Giannis for the Bucks. And then I'm looking at the San Antonio Spurs, highest paid player on the team. Guess who it is?
Oh, it's De'Aaron Fox.
De'Aaron Fox. There you go. Not somebody named Wemby. But Wemby he's still in his rookie contract. So when that rookie contract's over, no doubt he's probably gonna garner a lot more money. He's gonna get a hefty pay increase there. And probably if not, he's gonna be the most expensive player or highest paid player here on the Spurs team, if not in the league at the time.
Right. Yeah.
The contract expires.
Yeah, the contract expires. We're halfway through the first contract.
Yeah.
He's got 2 more years left. He got 2 team options, which obviously are going to be accepted or taken by the Spurs. And then at some point, we got to do something. It kind of reminds me, Joe, of these quarterbacks in the NFL where you got to do something while they're on a rookie deal. And the Spurs started doing something this year. They got De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
They're going to get the future rookie of the year, Stephon Castle. So the Spurs made steps in the right direction this year. But what do they do in the offseason? And what do they do with these picks? What if they win the lottery? What if they don't? We're going to know a lot about where this team's going to go
Direction.
probably in the next 6 weeks or so.
Look at what Hanover Fist says, Mike. That's a good topic right there. He says, and are we going to pay Fox this off season? But is he worth it?
Yeah, he is. Because you need to have a solid point guard to win in the NBA. You need to have all-star level players. You can't go out there with Champagnes and Sohans and Keldons, who are all going to have long careers in the NBA, getting the bulk of your minutes. Those can't be your star players. Those are complementary players.
Look at this player that I'm hovering around here at the bottom with the Phoenix Suns. Highest paid player on their roster right now is going to be Kevin Durant.
Right.
And me, along with some other Spurs fans, have said, hey, why not bring Kevin Durant to San Antonio? But if he's the highest paid player for the Suns, the Spurs can't afford him if they were to bring him on this team.
Well, they can afford him if they get rid of Keldon and Vassell to make it happen.
Salaries have to match. That is true.
That'll clear up $46 million. And then you have the fact that Chris Paul is gone. That adds 10. And then you have the fact that there's an increase in the salary cap. That'll clear up enough space to give Fox an extension, and it clears up enough space to have Kevin Durant there. But that's a lot of moving pieces, man. I'm not saying that it's not worth it. It's just going to be 36 years old this upcoming season. He's still a good player, still a very, very good player.
It would be a win now mentality.
That's would be.
The move would signify.
Yeah.
You know?
And again, this is a business. We're not signing Kevin Durant to be a 10-year veteran of this team.
No.
And have his jersey up on the rafters. We're signing Kevin Durant to win a championship this year.
Go into the playoffs.
No different than what Toronto did that 1 year they had Kawhi Leonard.
You're paying to play at this point. If the Spurs were to go ahead and pick up Kevin Durant, get rid of, I don't know, Vassell, get rid of Keldon Johnson, maybe even Sohan, something, to make it happen. It could happen, but it would be for maybe 2 seasons, and you'd see where you go from there, maybe 3 at the max. And hopefully you have a deep playoff berth, because I think if you bring Kevin Durant, the consensus would be you would either want to get to the Western Conference Finals, if not the NBA Finals. That would be the goal, and that would be short term, not long term.
Tavarius reaches out to us and says, Durant, still a top 5 shooter at his age. Man, 40%, 42% three-point shooters don't grow on trees, man. That's for sure. And it's funny because you look at that percentage. You look at baseball, if you bat 280, you're a good player. If you bat 300, you're an all-star.
Yeah.
And it's like that when it comes to three-point shooting. You do 33, 34, 35%, you're a decent player. You do 40%, you're an all-star. You can be an all-star. Or you could be an elite role player at that point. But, the Spurs need to go find some shooters, man, because the days of us drafting people hoping that we're going to develop a shot, those days should be over. We have enough of those. We have Castle that situation, Wemby with that situation, Sohan with that situation. We need to have somebody drafted this year, whether it's at 8, 14, or if we win the lottery, who comes out and already knows how to shoot the down ball. That's why Trey Johnson from UT, gets me. I look at him and go, he shot 40% from 3 in college. 39.7% or something like that.
Yeah.
We need shooters. And the idea that they're going to get better in the NBA when the defenses are better doesn't make sense. It's kind of like trying to teach Sohan how to play point guard.
It's not going to happen.
You try to teach Sohan how to play point guard. You don't teach them how to play point guard in the NBA. They should already know how to handle the rock. So it's kind of confusing. But the NFL draft, what are we talking about? 56 hours away, Joe?
56 hours away, man. We're gonna have to do something. I think maybe we'll go live for a little bit after the first round of the NFL draft. Kind of give our consensus, a short, 15, 20 minutes of what we thought about the NFL draft. And said teams like, for example, Cowboys or Saints, and the picks that they made, and kind of reflecting on what happened in the first round of the draft itself. I think maybe that's something we should do.
Well, we'll talk about it and learn more. Hey, everyone who was on the show today, thank you so much for the super chats. Thank you so much. Hit the like button on the way out the door. I got to get back to the office, man. But everyone have a fantastic day. Joe, great show. Thanks for holding it down, talking wrestling, my man.
Yes, sir. We'll go ahead and see you boys tomorrow. We're out. Peace.
See ya.